Mill. That is the current state of the game. Make sure you smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out more awesome content. Current state of the game for Master Duel is here. I want to give a shout out to number 6 here on what I would consider the meta ladder. I mean, obviously you got Adamancipator, Phantom Knights. We've done we've talked about these decks still live in their time capsule, but Spiral's my honorable mention for this video because for what this deck has continued to do, it's been a monster, to be honest with you. The deck, all you have to do is learn some combo lines and then, deal with the occasional brick and a half. But the deck, when it gets itself going, is a crazy monster. It is one of the scariest decks in Master Duel, honestly, but a lot of players don't really want to explore the options for it because they just don't want to learn the combo lines. And I get that, alright? You can go play Adamancipator or, Phantom Knight and have better results. So those are kind of lurking a little bit below. Now we got to talk about Sword Soul. Now, Sword Soul, I've talked about this, has been pretty much one of the better decks in Master Duel. I usually typically put this as like my second best deck in the room, but with how power scaling and the release sets have kind of gone with it, a lot of weird things have kind of forced shifts in the meta in this field of vision for this format. So it's kind of interesting. Sword Soul 10e does maintain, all of the good plays that it formerly had, but as more and more scaling and cards get released, it finds itself doing a little bit worse as each and every set goes on. So I think that that's very important to kind of see that while the deck is still a very powerful monster, I think if you're going into Master Duel and you're willing to discount everything that, Sword Soul 10e is doing, I think you're going to look like a massive clown. So I do think that the deck does maintain its spot in top 5. You can place it anywhere that you really want, and I think 2 or 3, 4, 5, honestly. Now, I need to talk about Dragon Link. Every time I make these videos, there's always where's the Dragon Link, Robbie? Robbie, why are you underestimating Dragon Link? Well, here's the thing, all right? The casual duelist out here is going to look at Rocket Dragon Link, and they're going to put down their PhD in casualties, and they're going to go, me don't want to play this deck. And that's kind of the thing that I kind of trade off with this is, while Dragon Link is a good deck at the end of the day, your combo lines are massive. You honestly, the fact that, Striker Dragon just gives you as much advantage as you can get. Plus, you still have pretty much all of the most busted combo cards that you've needed to make some of the scariest boards. You don't have to deal with, going through the evolution that we had to go through after, Bysteel and stuff came through. You still get to act in the current pure incarnation of the deck, which I think is very good. I will say that the previous versions of Dragon Link definitely felt better compared to the modern era of the TCG, and I will stick by that. That's very much what it feels like at the end of the day when you look at this deck. But I will say that Dragon Link will maintain some sort of power creep dominance. Is the deck better than Sword Soul 10e? At certain points, yes, it is. That's why I said 3, 4, and 5 here can be perfectly rotatable. There are plenty of, changes in between the metagame here that can put one of these decks over the edge. And remember, this is a 1-out-of-1 format, so, Striker Dragon doesn't have to worry about some, BS side deck card that's going to come in and totally ruin their day. Their game plan is just make a big board and go, and honestly, the random super polys that would mess them up just don't exist in this game. So that's one really big thing to consider at the end of the day, is that level of, dominance. Next up here is, to anybody's surprise, it's really Pendulum as a whole. Now, this game still has the Pendulum FTK. For those of you that are like, huh? Pendulum FTK? Yeah, double Starving Venom Fusion Dragon is like some FTK with one of the assembled Nightingale monsters. It's actually hilarious, but it never really comes up. Now that, you know what the game got recently that really mattered all that much? That put this deck a little bit further ahead of the rest of the meta? Beyond the Pendulum finally arrived. The deck now has Electrumite and Beyond the Pendulum both working together. I think that's the craziest part about all of this. The TCG hasn't got to experience Beyond the Pendulum and Electromite, but if you want to go play Master Duel format here, where you get access to both of those cards, you can experience, you know, the mass power creep that those two engines kind of bring together, and you can see why, you know, these particular things really are setting up for the way that they are. And I do honestly think, kind of going forward here, that Pendulum will be a very scary deck. Honestly, the fact that you now have Beyond the Pendulum and combination of Electromite, yeah. And what? You're only going to get more Pendulum support as the time goes on. The only real big difference is we still don't have Illusion of Chaos in the game. I don't know where in the heck they're going to dump that. But if you're kind of like looking around right now and you're like, huh, you know, like, you know, Pendulum might be for me. I mean, honestly, I think give it a chance. If you enjoyed massive, you know, building boards, tearing your opponent down, and, you know, going first and setting these up, I think this will be good for you. Obviously, we don't have Draco Slayer in the game yet, which will change the game even further beyond that, but, you know, if you want to get your foot in the door right now, Pendulum looks like a very fun deck, and that's good. Next up, which has definitely surpassed my expectations, has been Runic. Now, I made a video talking about the overall impact and how I don't think that Runic is going to stick around for very long in Master Duel. I've definitely learned my lesson about 1-out-of-1 formats, and Konami has taught us one thing about Master Duel format is these particular things aren't going to stick around for very long. The big reason I bring this up is because when you kind of look at like the vastness of, you know, how Master Duel is structured and things like that, especially with like Stormwinds, we don't have side deck cards that we can bring in to stop Runic. So when Runic goes on its Floodgate Rampage game plan of, I've got all the protection, what are you going to do about it? You can't do shit about it. Like, I'm sorry to tell you, but Runic, I love the deck. I think that the deck is absolutely one of the coolest designed decks in modern era Yu-Gi-Oh! But releasing it into a 1-of-1 vacuum where you've started checking things and we're not up to current power scaling yet, and you kind of dropped it a little bit further ahead of its time, then yeah, of course, players, I can only imagine what it's like playing on the ladder. You know, you climb a little bit further up and it's like Runic matchup. You're going to get so angry, you're going to start maining Twin Twisters, Cosmic Cyclones, Harpy's Feather Duster, Lightning Storm, all of these other cards, and you're going to run into a deck that's not Runic, and you're going to get blown out because you drew all the removal in the world. That's my problem with this right now. So it is very nice to see a change in scaling of the format. Change of scaling, should have saved that joke for Pendulum Magician there. It is nice to see like diversity though at its finest here to kind of showcase kind of what's going on. But yeah, Runic, very far ahead. And then of course the best deck still in the room. Yay, Branded Despia. Nothing's changed with this. Like Mirror Jade, Lubellion, hello? Like the deck still does the same lines of play that it's done forever. The deck still goes through the same crazy iterations that it does. Players, super poly and things, you know, the immediate answers that a lot of the other format kind of, or the rest of the format kind of produced to kind of out and handle this don't really exist right now. And that's kind of what's putting Branded Despia ahead of everything else. I mean, obviously, Runic can bully it, sure, but a Guardian Chimera tearing through a field after you kind of set up, if you know, had to go down a different line of play, can really put you in a bad position. It's the defensive plays that the deck has that really put it much further ahead of the rest of kind of what's going on here. But it is nice to see the levels of diversity. Don't get me wrong, I think Master Duel, besides Runic, it actually looks like it's in a pretty good spot right now. Way better than the state of the game for the TCG. TCG just took a crap on the floor and is like, what is this? You know, you don't want to clean it up, but you know you're going to have to eventually. But yeah, actually, I will give it to Konami. They've designed a relatively fun-looking format, and you know, a couple of things aside, you know, hopefully things will get cleaned up here in the near future, but we're going at a pretty good pace. I like it. So what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.